On the 17th of June 2026, WION held WION Health Pulse in New Delhi. The on-ground healthcare summit brought together medical experts, policymakers and innovators to discuss the future of medicine and healthcare technology globally. The summit's chief guest was Union Minister Dr Jitendra Singh. Dr Jitendra Singh serves as the Union Minister of State, independent charge for the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Sciences. He is also the Minister of State for the Prime Minister's Office, Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Space.
There is a continuous effort in that direction.
Dr. Singh emphasized India's emergence as a global healthcare hub and shared his vision for the future of healthcare and medical innovation.
Can I start by asking you where we stand as a country in terms of public health care? The Prime Minister has a vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, and one of the most crucial parameters in becoming a developed country by 2047, in becoming a superpower, is public health care. Where do we stand at the moment, and what is the vision ahead?
I think the easiest way to understand where we stand is to look back and recall where we stood, say, a decade and a half ago. As Churchill always said, the longer we look back, the further we look forward. And if you look back about 2 decades back, India was never taken seriously for its healthcare practices. And I think there was a reason for that, because as a society, we were never very health conscious or medically conscious. If someone fell sick, they would wait for 3-4 days. If they didn't get well, then they would visit a doctor. अगर ठीक हो गए, माँ का आशीर्वाद, अगर नहीं रहे तो पिछले जन्मों का कर्म. And today, the same country, the same nation, the same society, which was not taken seriously for its therapeutic healthcare practices, is today being hailed as a global leader in preventive healthcare. We were the first to come out with a DNA vaccine in COVID, and then also offer it to 30 other countries. Now we have HPV vaccine, which is known to be effective in cervical cancers, more so common among females, and likewise. So I think there's a paradigm shift, not only where we stand, but also as the world looks up to us. As far as our biopharma products is concerned, or biomanufacturing is concerned, we stand number 3, India Pacific, about number 12 or number 13 globally. We have made a niche for ourselves in producing devices, heart valves, which are cost effective, without compromise on the quality, as a result of which we are also exporting, and we are also attracting medical tourism from outside. Anything that is available, any part of the world, is also available over here, and that too at a more cost effective option. As a result of which, India is now emerging as a preferred healthcare destination for people from across the world. Earlier on, all the antibiotics, the trials were done outside, the salt was developed outside, right from the day the first ever antibiotic came to this world, which was penicillin, that time described as the queen of medicines. Then the successive generations of antibiotics, whether the streptomycin, chlorophenicol, tetracycline, the gram-negative ones. We have now come out with 2 antibiotics, trials done in India, and being marketed by, of course, that's in PPP model. And one more example, which I like to share, because that will be quite amusing for the audience in this room. Hemophilia. We are the first to have come out with a successful gene-driven trial, genetic remedy for hemophilia, which is a clotting disorder. And why I'm saying that this room will find it interesting is that if you go back to the history of medicine, it is said that the first ever case of hemophilia, the deficiency of clotting factor 8, was discovered in one of the cousins of Queen Victoria. So not only that we have qualified in diseases emanating from India, namely the tropical diseases, the communicable diseases, we are now also in a position to find solutions about diseases, or solutions for diseases, which originated from the West. This Ayushman Bharat. Now this is a unique health insurance company. I think the first of its kind in the world. And those of us who've been practitioners like me would bear me out that most of the health insurance schemes earlier did not insure you for a pre-existing disease. Suppose you had a heart disease or an underlying coronary heart disease, your insurance will cover all the other organs, not heart. And even, God forbid, if you had a heart attack and you claimed a premium, they would try to prove by hook or crook that you had camouflaged it. I mean, they were so conservative. Now, here is a disease. If someone is detected having a cancer, the next day after detection, he can go and he or she can get himself insured under Ayushman Bharat and claim all that amount. Secondly, of course, they increase the number of the medical colleges, the medical schools, the government sector to make the education more accessible. And also this recent announcement also in the budget of having cancer care facility in each of the districts.
You mentioned antibiotics and medicines, and India's been the pharmacy of the world. But there's a huge challenge of antibiotic resistance that has come in. And doctors like yourselves would understand the repercussions of what we're staring at. It might look like a small problem, but it isn't. How are we planning to, challenge this? Yes, awareness is the first step, but what do we do moving forward?
About 2 centuries back, Oscar Wilde wrote that the precious pounds that are spent in treating a fever through medicine could be better spent on arranging a good caring nurse. Which in other words means that many of the viral fevers may not require a very heroic treatment. They might just require resuscitation of the body, some rest, avoiding exposures, some boosters, nutrition. But maybe the patient is in a hurry and the doctor is in also a hurry. So I don't blame either of the two because I've been a practitioner. So if I don't, तो वो कहेगा उसी के घर जाके कहेगा तू डॉक्टर बदल दे.
Oscar Wilde sir also wrote, the only thing I can't resist is temptation. And when you have an antibiotic in front of you and you have, a rush hour office and you have a corporate job.
But actually that is also a misplaced impression because certain viral fevers would again take same time even if you give an antibiotic. So for example, if you have common cold, acute coryza which is called, even if you take antibiotic, you're not going to get rid of it for less than 3-4 days.
Yeah. Quickly, I also want to talk about Dr. Singh, mental health. And earlier we had a session on mental health. The government has, been dealing with mental health crisis, mental health situations. The Supreme Court has also formed a national task force as far as mental health is concerned. How is the government really planning to deal with this? And now you have the problem of, people going to AI and talking about suicide. That's the biggest challenge.
I think much of factors emanating from the social milieu, from the economic factors or issues, also from the increasing competitiveness and the aspirational surge which this country is witnessing. So I think the family, the society, and the citizenry in general may have to contribute much, much more. However much a government tries, it would not be able to achieve the optimum results unless everybody has a stake. So if I dig a bridge, hoping that I'll make a booty out of this or a fortune out of this, let me not forget that someday my child or my family member may also be driving on the top of the same bridge and face a bad consequence. Since
you are a doctor, I would like to take that leverage and ask you if there's one thing that you would like to tell people today to have, a healthy lifestyle, to live a healthy life, what would it be?
If we just focus on ourselves and then try to see where I was and where I am today, so that's good enough for me. So that will solve half the problem. Equally important to guard against the disinformation which is spreading this side. You have, hosts of these nutritionists sitting there, dietitians sitting there, rolling out fanciful prescriptions. And the more fanciful prescriptions, the more followers. Suppose I give you a diet chart with 7 breakfasts for 7 days, then I become more popular. Because I'm sensationalizing all that. So we have to guard against that. Be closer to oneself, both physically and mentally. We'll take care of both mental as well as the physical health.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
At WION's Health Pulse Summit 2026, a session with leading healthcare experts discussed how artificial intelligence is transforming healthcare in India and the opportunities and challenges of digital integration. For our session on AI and digital integration, we welcome on stage Dr. Nitish Nayak. Dr. Nitish Nayak is a Padma Shri awardee and a cardiologist known for his exceptional expertise in interventional cardiology, medical education, and clinical leadership. He currently serves as a senior cardiologist and professor at the Department of Cardiology at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Dr. Sama Akbar. Dr. Sama Akbar is an interventional and heart failure cardiologist who is currently serving as the managing director of Oxymed Hospital in Chennai. Dr. Akbar has successfully published papers on non-surgical management of advanced heart failure cases in the prestigious Journal of Cardiac Failure, recently awarded for his work at the International Society for Heart Research at AIIMS, New Delhi. Dr. Rohit Luthra. Dr. Rohit Luthra is a robotic orthopedic surgeon and director of Arcus Hospital in Pune. Dr. Luthra introduced India's first bilateral DAA or direct anterior approach, which is a modern muscle-sparing technique for total hip replacement. He is fondly called by his patients as the joint genie. Dr. Arjun Dang. Dr. Arjun Dang is a pathologist with a specialization in liver and GI histology and holds a certification in clinical allergy from the European Academy of Allergy and Clinical Immunology. He is recognized for his commitment to diagnostic accuracy, innovation, and patient-centric healthcare technologies. He currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer and partner at Dr. Dang's Lab LLP, a leading diagnostics institution based in Delhi NCR.
Dr. Nayak, I want to start with you, and I just want to understand what kind of conversations are happening around AI in your circles in hospitals, and what is the broader sentiment around it?
So see, AI is a very exciting field, and I have to say that AI is the way we are going to move forward in medicine. The ability to digest a whole lot of information, to digest patterns that we don't recognize, and give out something that is useful. So let me give you an example of how it's being deployed. Imagine yourself sitting in this room like we are, and we have cameras running everywhere. And what if I could pick up just from the camera patients who have a heart rhythm problem? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yes, we are beginning to do that. And how? Because you are able to train these digital tools into diagnosing heart conditions. Maybe it can diagnose blood pressure. Maybe it can warn a person who has got diabetes. Maybe it can diagnose some other condition. So, these things are patterns that hitherto went unrecognized.
My next question is to Dr. Akbar. Dr. Akbar, do you have patients who are coming into you, with diagnosis from ChatGPT, convinced that they figured what the problem is, what the cause of the solution is, and how do you tackle people like that?
I look at AI like umpire's call. If it's hitting the stump a little bit less than half the ball, it's still umpire's call, it's out. But there's some human aspect to it. But unfortunately, we don't have only 2 or 3 DRS reviews in our OPD. Everybody, infinite DRS reviews, everyone comes with a DRS review, and it becomes problematic, and our OPD consultations go longer and longer.
Dr. Luthra, you've spent a considerable time integrating robotics with data and highly personalized scanning, which surgical planning into your practice. When you look at the operating room today, where do you think technology has made the most genuine improvements, and where do you think that human judgment still remains sacrosanct?
When we integrate robotics or AI with surgical parts, so what AI is doing, we're doing pre-operative CT scans for our patients, which you're not doing when I'm doing a conventional surgery. So a robotic surgery implies that you do a CT scan. That CT scan, we get a 3D segmentation of the scan. We get a 3D bone model before we actually do the surgery. On that model, we do sizing of the implant, what size of the, for example, for the hip replacement, what size of cup, what size of stem will fit the patient. We do know that before we start the surgery. and we do a virtual surgery on the computer before we actually doing a surgery. So we see the whole range of movement of the joint, whether the joint is going to dislocate at a particular angle, and if it dislocates on the software, then we can do some changes in the implant placement in terms of anteversion or inclination, so that it becomes a joint which is very stable. And then the same thing we help put into the robot, and the robot is helping us in performing the same pattern what you've decided. So what is helping is making me sure that what I want to do preoperatively, and then we plan and then we execute. So right from planning to execution, everything is streamlined and we get exactly what we want. So some patients ask me, the doctor, I've suggested a robotic surgery, and they come, doctor, if robot is doing the surgery, what are you going to do? They think that the surgeon is going to sit and have tea in the corner while the robot is operating. It's not like that. The surgeon himself is in total control of the surgery. Robotics, I would say, is a tool which is guiding the surgeon in doing the surgery in the right manner. It's like using Google Maps. So it's giving you and showing the way, but the surgery itself is performed by the doctor. The doctor can overrule the robot anytime he feels that something is going wrong, because robot does not know the tissue tension. He does not know the soft tissue release, because this is all, robotics all, like Dr. Dang also said, it's all data which we've given in. And it's not applicable to all patients. Some patients would have a vascular abnormality. It's not same everywhere. So the surgeon is still in control, but robotic is making the surgeon smarter. So it is human intelligence plus artificial intelligence plus robotics, which is the way to go forward. We cannot deny robotics from our life, and it's here to stay. We should adapt it to become better surgeons, better doctors, to implicate it in our day-to-day life so that we get better results.
Of course, the other promise of AI is reducing the diagnostic errors and identifying disease early. Dr. Dang, do you think AI can genuinely help close the diagnostic gap?
It's actually a paradox. When we talk about the world, about personalization, about preventive diagnostics, how can two people of the same age and gender have the exact same test requirements? That is absolutely not possible. Someone is probably having a beer every day, so they definitely need a liver function test, whereas someone is going to the gym for 4 hours in a day and having a lot of creatine and protein, and they need an extended kidney function test. Someone's parent has uncontrolled diabetes, so they need a deep dive into blood sugar, HbA1c, cystatin, microalbumin testing. So essentially, right now, when we go into a lab, we are picking a package based on two things, considering we are not from the medical fraternity. And the first one is our basic medical knowledge. कि अच्छा एक डायबिटीज़ का टेस्ट कर दे, या अच्छा एक लिवर वाला भी ज़रूर कर देना, एक हीमोग्लोबिन ऐड कर देना भैया. Second is of course our budget, right, where we want to spend 2,000, 5,000 or 10,000 and pick a package based on that. Now, to circumvent this one-size-fits-all issue, we actually launched an AI-backed website 4.5 years back that is free for use for everyone. It's called discoverbydradangs.com. You log into that, the AI asks you your health goal, prompts a few questions, and then gives you a scientifically backed, curated test package where every test has a peer-reviewed publication to show which test you need and why you need it.
We understand that there is a certain layer of skepticism when it comes to AI. We know it's not where it has reached a point where it can do those remarkable revolutionary stuff, but it's definitely in the process. Now, in the same breath, Elon Musk recently argued that AI and robotics will eventually outperform doctors and surgeons entirely. Dr. Naik, do you think that possibility can ever materialize, where AI can completely replace a doctor?
The robot can certainly help assist performing tasks, but we have certainly not reached the stage where they can become completely autonomous and completely perform surgery without any human intervention. Let me give you a very pertinent example of what was done a few years ago. Somebody from one of the universities abroad deliberately planted a fake article into the scientific journal. It was a deliberate attempt. It was a disease called, I wonder if you know about it, it's quite famous amongst our community, a disease called Biksuni mania. The name is incredulous. There's no such disease whatsoever. So, you cannot completely depend on AI.
Healthcare has followed a certain sequence for the longest time. You have a disease, you get it diagnosed, and then you go for treatment. Now, if AI proceeds on the trajectory that it's on, and prevention, we've always said prevention is better than cure, and if now that is materialized, what happens to the hospital economics, and how do hospitals adapt to this change?
Usually, it's smart, it's evolving, so it's able to see which answers are getting more reads. Obviously, those answers which can be followed up, which can be easily implemented, like lifestyle modifications, dietary changes, implementations on exercise, those things the patients can do, or at least they can tell their elders, or they can tell their family members, and that gives a lot more screen time. AI knows that, so it'll suggest that first. As far as the hospital economics goes, treating patients who have definite disease is far more validating, more joyful than treating people who have marginal disease or don't have much disease. And I think that gives you a lot of mind space, because if I have a smile today as your doctor, you're going to trust me for tomorrow as well.
We understand that compared to many developed countries, India still faces a shortage of doctors. We have one doctor for roughly 800 patients, if I'm not incorrect on that, and this alongside persistent gaps in access. Do you think AI would be able to democratize access to these systems?
So I think access in a scalable specialty, like perhaps radiology or pathology, I think is far more doable, or at least what we see in the immediate future. Of course, AI is a tool. It's like a very, very effective nurse. But again, I mean, the final decision has to be with clinical oversight.
It's also a distribution access problem that we have, and some of our best specialists, some of them that we have on the panel here today, most of them are concentrated in the metro cities. People don't have, access to quality healthcare. What do you think? Would AI be able to help in that?
If you look in the future, I think these specialties, especially who are pattern-based specialties, would be caught up easily by the AI, and maybe it would replace, to a certain extent, the doctors who are not interventional radiologists, but the typical basic radiologist will be replaced by the AI very soon. Because AI is coming in a big way. And to come to the second part, the second question, but the first question you asked was, how do we integrate into the periphery? How do we get the AI helping us? So I think AI, in the sense, what AI will help us is, for example, in a village or a smaller setup where there are no special doctors. So what AI can do is it can help in screening or funneling these patients. And for example, there are thousands of patients in a village, 1 lakh, population of 1 lakh in a village. Out of that, the AI can actually screen out or funnel out, maybe there are 1,000 patients with osteoporosis, which needs attention. So these, then the doctors over there who are not very keen, so that they can actually start treatment for these patients, so that we can start preventive, as we spoke about preventive, so that we can prevent fractures in such patients by starting early treatment. So that's how it can help.
What is that one breakthrough in AI, robotics, or diagnostics, or even digital health that you're most excited and the most hopeful for?
So predominant practice is in rural Tamil Nadu. It's in a town called Ambur, which is famous for biryani. We have a doctor-patient ratio of 1:11,000. That is, doctor-cardiologist ratio is 1 to maybe 10 lakh population. I'm the only visiting cardiologist in that region. So low tech, easy accessibility, AI is something which is the need of the hour over there. So voice-based recognition protocol to identify breathing patterns and speech patterns to identify even respiratory disease, heart disease. These things are algorithms which are evolving. And I think for prognostication, AI is a good screening tool at the current level of excellence, the current level of tech. I think as a screening tool to direct them towards the right rational next step, I think AI would be a very good tool.
Panel, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on the panel and sharing your wonderful insights with us. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause, please.
Thank you.